Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Saira Mujtaba and with me is Renuka RS with the evening news. The headlines. Lok Sabha passes Jammu and Kashmir Appropriation Bill 2022 and the Jammu and Kashmir Appropriation No. 2 Bill 2022. No sitting to be held of both houses on 17th and 18th of March on the occasion of Holi. Centre to start COVID-19 vaccination for 12 to 13 years and 13 to 14 years age groups from the 16th of this month. Country's overall exports estimates to be over $601 billion in April to February 2021-22, exhibits positive growth of over 36%. Government says total profit of central public sector enterprises increases by 37.53% in fiscal year 2020-21. More than 731 lakh tons of paddy procured in Kharif marketing season 2021-22, says government. Special PMLA court rejects bail application of former Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh in a money laundering case. And in cricket, India defeats Sri Lanka by 238 runs in second test match at M. Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru to clinch series 2-0. As we start the bulletin, we appeal to our listeners to stay safe from COVID-19 by following these 4 simple steps. Get fully vaccinated. Wear a face mask. Maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing. Focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman today said unemployment rate has come down in Jammu and Kashmir. Quoting the Centre for Monitoring Indian Economy, CMIE, she added that in 2016 it was 20% and by late February this year it was 13.2%. Speaking in Lok Sabha, the minister said this country cannot have 2 symbols, 2 prime ministers and constitutions when there is a constitution which all respect. She asserted that with the removal of Article 370, discriminatory laws were removed from the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. Later, the House passed the Appropriation No. 2 and No. 3 Bills 2022, the Jammu and Kashmir Appropriation Bill 2022 and the Jammu and Kashmir Appropriation No. 2 Bill 2022. Ms. Sitharaman earlier in today's session presented a 1.42 lakh crore budget for Jammu and Kashmir for the year 2022-23. She also moved a motion seeking to suspend certain rules to allow the House to take up the discussion and debates on the issue on the same day.
There will be no sitting of both the houses on the 17th and 18th of March. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu today announced that the regular sitting of the Rajya Sabha will be cancelled on the 17th of March due to Choti Holi or Holika Dahan. With this announcement made during its proceedings, the upper house will observe 2 official holidays on the 17th and 18th of March for Holi celebrations. Besides, the functioning of the house will also not take place on the 19th and 20th of March due to weekends. Similarly, there will be no sitting of the Lok Sabha also on Thursday and Friday. India's overall exports are estimated to be over $57 billion in February this year, exhibiting a positive growth of 25.41% over the same period last year. The Commerce and Industry Ministry said the country's overall exports in April to February 2021-22 are estimated to be over $601 billion, exhibiting a positive growth of over 36% over the same period last year. The ministry said overall imports in February this year are estimated to be $69.35 billion, exhibiting a positive growth of 35.64% over the same period last year.
The government today said a total profit of Central Public Sector Enterprises, CPSEs, has increased by 37.53% in fiscal year 2020-21 in comparison to corresponding year. However, the losses incurred by the CPSEs has decreased by 29.86% during the same period. The information was given in a written reply by the Minister of State for Finance, Dr. Bhagwat Kishan Rao Karad, in the Lok Sabha. He said there are 255 operational CPSEs as on the 31st of March 2021, with a total turnover of 24,26,045 crore rupees in 2020-21. Out of these, 177 CPSEs are profit-making, with total profit of 1,89,320 crore rupees.
The government today said a total of 1,213 crore 26 lakh 1,000 rupees electoral bonds were purchased in the current year till date. In a written reply in the Lok Sabha, the Minister of State for Finance, Pankaj Chaudhary, said, out of this, 1,212 crore 86 lakh rupees electoral bonds are encashed. He said the electoral bond scheme is, in fact, an unprecedented step towards cleansing the process of funding of political parties and major improvement over conventional practice of funding the political system through donations in cash. The government has said that more than 731 lakh tons of paddy has been procured in Kharif marketing season 2021-22. The Consumer Affairs Ministry said over 1 crore 3 lakh farmers have been benefited from the procurement with minimum support price value of over 1,43,000 crore rupees. It said the paddy procurement is progressing smoothly at MSP from farmers as it was done in previous years.
Arunachal Pradesh Deputy Chief Minister Chao Na-main, who is also the in-charge Minister for Finance, today presented State Budget 2022-23 with a fiscal deficit of 644.81 crore rupees. While presenting the budget in the State Assembly, the Finance Minister said the budget is built on the 6 building blocks of learning from the COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Main also said besides these 6 blocks, the state government will be emphasizing on preservation of culture and indigenous faith, and many projects have been taken up in this regard in this budget. He said the basic philosophy of this year's budget is no citizen left behind. No new taxes have been imposed this year, Mr. Main added.
Rural Development and Panchayati Raj Minister Giriraj Singh has said that soon the people of the country will be able to get their land records in their own language. He said that the Department of Land Resources will plan to roll out the multilingual software from next month. He was speaking after releasing an e-book on land governance reforms in New Delhi today. He said the land records will be available in 22 languages.
The Pharmaceuticals Department has extended the date for receiving the applications for the vacant slots under Production Linked Incentive Scheme or PLI for bulk drugs till month end. Earlier, the deadline was the 13th of this month. The Chemicals and Fertilizers Ministry said, based on the representation received from the industries and associations, the department has decided to extend the timeline for filing of application up to the 31st of March 2022. Here is a review of proceedings in Parliament today. First from Lok Sabha. Writer is Achint Bora of PTI. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented a 1.42 lakh crore rupee budget for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir for the year 2022-23 in the House. She also presented the supplementary demands for the year 2021-22, totaling 18,860.32 crore rupees for the Union Territory, and moved a motion seeking suspension of certain rules to allow the House to take up the discussion on the same day. The budget for Jammu and Kashmir has been presented in Lok Sabha as the newly created UT is currently under the central rule and the new legislature will be formed only when the assembly elections will be held. Manish Tiwari of Congress and N.K. Premachandran of RSP objected to the motion moved by Sitharaman, contending that the relevant rules formed part of the basic rules of procedure and cannot be waived. Sudeep Bandyopadhyay of TMC said the issue was discussed in the Business Advisory Committee and it was agreed that the discussion on the JK budget will be taken up to 2 hours after the presentation. Later, during the debate, Union Minister Jitendra Singh, Minister of State in Prime Minister's office, dared the Congress party to announce in the House that it would restore Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir if it comes to power. He said the Modi government was allocating 63% of the budget for the Union Territory to deal with the legacy of the Congress regime. He wanted to know whether the Congress party has the courage to say that it will restore Article 370 after coming into power. He further said that Article 370, which was abrogated by the Modi government, had prevented implementation of social welfare measures like prohibition of child marriages, prevention of corruption, anti-dowry legislation, right to information and SC/ST reservation. Mr. Singh further said Prime Minister Modi has created a new political culture by honouring Mahatma Gandhi, Sardar Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose and B.R. Ambedkar, and Congress is now searching for icons. He said more than 50,000 crore rupees have been invested by large industrial houses in the Union territory. BJP's Jammu MP Jugal Kishore Sharma said power was misused under Article 370. He alleged that there was bribery and people were in total disarray before the abrogation of Article 370. Mr. Sharma said, under Prime Minister Modi's leadership, employment is being generated and funds are made available for development projects. He alleged that Jammu used to be discriminated against earlier, but that has changed now. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi was given a rousing welcome by BJP members in Lok Sabha today on the first day of the second part of the budget session that began days after his party's impressive performance in the assembly polls. Mr. Modi entered the House minutes after the proceedings began, and immediately all BJP MPs gave him a standing ovation by thumping desks while chanting Modi, Modi. All union ministers, including Amit Shah and Rajnath Singh, joined the ruling party MPs in welcoming the Prime Minister to the House. This is the first time that the House is meeting after the BJP's overwhelming victory in the recent series of assembly elections recently. Mr. Modi entered the House when Speaker Om Birla was speaking about a parliamentary delegation from Austria, which witnessed the proceedings of the House from a special box. After the Prime Minister, union ministers and the BJP MPs settled down, the Speaker, while welcoming the Austrian delegation, extended greetings of the House as well as the people of India to the Austrian Parliament, the Austrian government and the people of Austria. The delegation was led by President of the National Council of Austria, Wolfgang Sobotka. The Speaker also informed the House about the death of 3 former members, S. Singravadivel, H.B. Patil and Hemanand Biswal, in the recent past. The House also paid tributes to the deceased members. Several MPs suggested that the government to formulate a policy to allow students evacuated from war on Ukraine to complete their medical education in universities in India. YSRCP members P.V. Mithun Reddy and M. Srinivasalu Reddy, Kodikunil Suresh of Congress also participated in the discussion.
And now a review of proceedings in Rajya Sabha. Writer is Sanjeev Chopra of PTI. Rajya Sabha today resumed the second part of the budget session of Parliament with Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu urging members to facilitate a productive session guided by the positive spirit of the first part that resulted in 101.4% productivity. In his observations in the House, Naidu referred to the first part of the budget session that witnessed 8 full consecutive sittings without disturbances and forced adjournments after about 3 years and stressed on the need to sustain that spirit. The session met after a 30-day recess for department-related parliamentary standing committees to examine the demands for grants of various ministries. Naidu gave an account of the work done in this regard by the 8 committees of Rajya Sabha. He informed the House that these 8 committees have held 23 meetings for 73 hours and 33 minutes at an average duration of 3 hours 30 minutes per meeting, the best in this regard. Referring to the situation in Ukraine, the chairman noted that evacuation of students from Ukraine was a challenging task and complimented the central and state governments for putting in praiseworthy efforts in this regard. The House has been taken up discussion on the working of Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region. Supplementary demands for grants of 18,860.32 crore rupees for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir 2021-22 and the budget of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir for 2022-23 were also taken up. The highest 11,832.77 crore rupees has been earmarked for the Education Department, followed by 10,831.18 crore rupees for the Home Department, which controls police, in the 1.42 lakh crore rupees budget for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir for the year 2022-23. According to Jammu and Kashmir Appropriation Bill 2022, 797.34 crore rupees has been allocated for the General Administration Department and 10,831.18 crore rupees for the Home Department. Several members raised issues relating to Indian students evacuated from war-hit Ukraine and asked the government to take steps to help them complete their studies. Naidu also informed members that the minister concerned will make a statement on the issue and members can seek clarification. The House observed silence in the memory of former members Nabin Chandra Borogohain, Rahul Bajaj, D.P. Chattopadhyay and Yedlapati Venkat Rao, who passed away recently.
Participating in the discussion on working of the Ministry of Development of North Eastern Region, BJP member Bhuvneshwar Kalita hit back, saying the Prime Minister Mr. Modi's led government has acted rather than just looking at the region, with infrastructure development projects completed at a much faster pace, bringing better all-round development compared to what the Congress did. Ripun Bora of Congress alleged that the BJP government has failed to realize the dream of former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee for socio-economic development of the Northeast India and removal of regional imbalance. Development will be there where connectivity is, and connectivity of the region has been the top priority of this government, Kalita said, adding many new airports were added in the region and those which were closed during the Congress regime have also been revived. He also added that the capitals of the northeastern states will soon be connected with rail, and going to Imphal and Itanagar by train that was a dream are being realized soon. Considering the achievement of the region in sports, he also highlighted the government's decision to set up a national sports university in Manipur. The government should reconsider the continuance of the Armed Forces Special Powers Act or AFSPA in the northeastern states, said DMK leader Tirucha Siva. V. Vijay Sai Reddy of YSRCP also participated in the debate. Shipping Minister Sarbanand Sonowal, who was former Chief Minister of Assam, said the Northeast region is no longer lagging behind the rest of the country in terms of growth and infrastructure development, as Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government in the last 7 years has paid special attention to develop the region. That's all in Parliament Review.
You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Lok Sabha passes Jammu and Kashmir Appropriation Bill 2022 and the Jammu Kashmir Appropriation No. 2 Bill 2022. No sitting to be held of both houses on 17th and 18th of March on the occasion of Holi. Centre to start COVID-19 vaccination for 12 to 13 years and 13 to 14 years age groups from the 16th of this month. Country's overall exports estimates to be over $601 billion in April to February 2021-22, exhibits positive growth of over 36%. Government says total profit of central public sector enterprises increases by 37.53% in fiscal year 2020-21. More than 731 lakh tons of paddy procured in Kharif marketing season 2021-22, says government. Special PMLA court rejects bail application of former Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh in a money laundering case. And in cricket, India defeats Sri Lanka by 238 runs in second test match at M. Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru to clinch series 2-0. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
दुनिया रंग बिरंगी की ऐसी खबरें जिन्होंने आपको गुदगुदाया, हंसाया और हैरान किया। कार्यक्रम के 75वें अंक पर विशेष कड़ी लेकर आ रहे हैं आपके लिए। सुनिएगा जरूर 15 मार्च मंगलवार को सुबह 7:30 बजे कार्यक्रम आज सवेरे में और रात 9:15 बजे कार्यक्रम स्पॉटलाइट में। दुनिया रंग बिरंगी 75वीं कड़ी।
Welcome back. You're listening to the evening news. The Centre, after due deliberations with scientific bodies, has decided to start COVID-19 vaccination for 12 to 13 years and 13 to 14 years age groups from the 16th of this month. It will be for those born in 2008, 2009 and 2010 who are already above 12 years of age. The COVID-19 vaccine to be administered would be Corbevax, manufactured by Biological Evans, Hyderabad. The government has also decided that the condition of comorbidity for COVID-19 precaution dose for population over 60 years of age will be removed forthwith. Hence, from the 16th of March 2022 onwards, the entire population above 60 years of age will be eligible for precaution dose of COVID-19 vaccine. India's COVID vaccination coverage has crossed 180 crore 36 lakh mark today. The Union Health Ministry said that more than 17 lakh doses of vaccine were administered till 7 p.m. today. In the age group of 15 to 18 years old, more than 5 crore 59 lakh vaccine doses have been administered as the first dose and 3 crore 42 lakh as the second dose so far. More than 2 crore 13 lakh precaution doses have been administered so far as well.
Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu today highlighted the importance of evidence-based policy making to ensure that governance is responsive to the changes and disruptions around us. He also called for constant rethink and readjustment of policies and programs as per emerging needs and requirements. Interacting with the participants of ISB's Advanced Management Program in Public Policy at Uprashtrapati Niwas today, Mr. Naidu called for developing innovative business models to find solutions to everyday problems faced by common man.
And now let's listen to our special program Azadi Ka Safar, highlighting the importance of the day during the freedom struggle.
आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव।
Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. Birth of a Nation. India's glorious freedom struggle is one of the greatest struggles the modern world has ever witnessed. AIR News brings you a glimpse of the struggle every day.
In today's episode, we remember freedom fighter Jai Narayan Vyas, who died on the 14th of March 1963. He was a prominent leader in Jodhpur during the freedom struggle.
Jai Narayan was born in the princely state of Jodhpur in 1899. He started the Marwar Hitkarni Sabha to fight against both English and non-Jodhpuri administrators, which also received the support of the Maharaja of Jodhpur. However, later, he also got involved in freedom movements led by the Congress Party, which were not sympathetic to the Maharaja and resulted in his exile from the state.
He returned to his hometown and in 1941 became chairman of the Jodhpur municipality. Jai Narayan was imprisoned 5 times, including for a period of 2 years from 1942 to 1944. For his involvement in the Jodhpur Prajamandal, the Youth League and the Marwar Lok Parishad.
Sonaro suraj uge chandi jehdi raat mhara Rajasthan ki hai jag sunyari baat.
Vyas was elected to the Constituent Assembly from Jodhpur and put forth his views on the issues of state autonomy and the drawing up of state boundaries. After independence, Vyas became the Prime Minister of the princely state of Jodhpur in March 1948. He also headed the Rajputana Pradesh Congress Committee until 1949. Later, he became the Chief Minister of the independent state of Rajasthan, a position that he held twice between 1951 and 1954. We salute the great nationalist.
Keralame nindeyo manapper kelke kolmayir kollum ennullamennum neeralappacha viricha vayalugal neele kidakkumul naadugalum.
We also remember famous Malayalam writer Shankarana Kutti Pottekattu, who was born on the 14th of March 1913 in Kozhikode. He was involved with activities of the Indian National Congress and attended the Tripuri session of 1939, for which he resigned from his teaching job as the school authorities did not allow him leave of absence. He was involved in the freedom struggle and worked alongside freedom fighters like Mathai Manjuran. In 1962, Pottekattu won the parliamentary election from Tillicherry, Kerala.
Poothiri kattichu paadiravum pinne poothiruvaadira poonilavum.
Pottekattu was a writer of strong social commitment and ideals, possessing an individualistic vision. Pottekattu made his mark in literature with a few short stories in the 1930s. His first story, Rajanithi, was published in 1928. Magane Konna Madhyam and Hindu Muslim Maitri were some of his notable early works.
Pottekattu won the Kerala Sahitya Academy Award in 1961 for the novel Oru Teruvinte Katha, the story of a street, and the Gyanpeeth Award in 1980 for the novel Oru Desatinte Katha, the story of a locale. His works have been translated into English, Italian, Russian, German and Czech, besides all major Indian languages. He died on the 6th of August, 1982. We salute the great Indian.
We also remember Indian National Army's Lance Naik S.K. Mishra, a resident of Haryana. Mishra fought on the Burma front against the British-led Allied forces and was killed in a gun battle on the 14th of March 1944. We salute the great martyr.
We also remember martyr Mehma Singh, a resident of district Firozpur, Punjab. Mehma joined the peaceful Jatha to Jaito Gurudwara, Gangsar, Nabha in 1925 against the British order prohibiting all prayer assemblies in it. The police stopped the Jatha from entering the Gurudwara and arrested Mehma Singh along with many other participants. Mehma Singh died on the 14th of March 1925 due to brutal police torture in Nabha Bir jail. We salute the great martyr.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Azadi Ka Safar with AIR News. See you in the next episode tomorrow.
Senior BJP leader and Union Minister Amit Shah has been appointed as the central observer for the election of the leader of the Legislative Party in Uttar Pradesh, while former Jharkhand Chief Minister Raghuvar Das has been appointed as co-observer for Uttar Pradesh. The party said senior BJP leader Rajnath Singh has been appointed as central observer for Uttarakhand, Nirmala Sitharaman for Manipur and Narendra Singh Tomar for Goa to look after the election of the Legislative Party. Punjab Chief Minister designate Bhagwant Mann today resigned from the Lok Sabha. Mr. Mann has tendered his resignation from the post of Member of Parliament to Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla. He represented Punjab's Sangrur constituency.
A special PMLA court has today rejected bail application of former Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh in a money laundering case. Deshmukh was arrested on the 1st of November after being questioned for 12 hours. Former Indian ambassador to Russia D. Bala Venkatesh Verma has said the successful evacuation Operation Ganga to evacuate Indian students from Ukraine was only possible due to personal understanding between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Speaking on Russia-Ukraine crisis, strategic trends and impact organized by Vivekanand International Foundation in New Delhi, Mr. Venkatesh said the evacuation operation was unique because India had to extract its nationals from the active war zone. He said almost all Indian nationals have been evacuated, particularly the Indian students.
Evacuation Operation Ganga that was done, I think is quite unique because we've done evacuations in the past, Yemen, Libya, Kuwait, but I do not recall a similar evacuation where we've had to extract Indian nationals, in this case more than 700 students, from an active war zone. And I think it is possible only because that we were able to influence Russian military operations at the highest level.
India beat Sri Lanka by 238 runs in the pink ball test at Bengaluru. With this, India clean sweep the series by 2-0. India won the first match in Mohali by an innings and 222 runs.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Lok Sabha passes J&K Appropriation Bill 2022 and J&K Appropriation Number 2 Bill 2022. No sitting to be held of both houses on 17th and 18th of March on the occasion of Holi. Centre to start COVID-19 vaccination for 12 to 13 years and 13 to 14 years age groups from the 16th of this month. Country's overall exports estimates to be over $601 billion in April to February 2021-22, exhibits positive growth of over 36%. Government says total profit of CPSEs increases by 37.53% in fiscal year 2020-21. More than 731 lakh tons of paddy procured in Kharif marketing season 2021-22, says government. Special PMLA court rejects bail application of former Maharashtra Home Minister Anil Deshmukh in money laundering case. And in cricket, India defeats Sri Lanka by 238 runs. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.